Battlefield 6 is a solid multiplayer shooter. But I'm not playing that. I haven't bought it and probably I won't in the near future. As many of you, I tried to open beta and it felt good. But the more I played, the more I realized that something was off. It brought fresh graphics technologies and some new mechanics, but in 2025 it doesn't make so much of an impression. It doesn't present systematic destruction or any cinematic analogs like the Levolution system from BF4. Maps got smaller and each fight started to feel repetitive, like there was only Operation Locker from the third game. And if I had to describe my impressions from this beta, it would have been flat. I couldn't imagine myself playing it for hundreds of hours like some previous parts. A little disclaimer. This video isn't about humiliating the latest Battlefield game. I like this series and I always believed it tried to move game technologies and multiplayer game experience forward. BF6 just turned out too familiar to my taste. Many people found it fun because we really hadn't seen any cool high-budget multiplayer shooters for some time. Yet I didn't find the thing there I respect Battlefield for. Then I recalled that there was a game from former DICE and Electronic Arts employees from Embark Game Studio, called The Finals. I tried it on a release but didn't find it interesting enough, so I thought that maybe it was time to give it a second chance. And God, what a good decision it was. This video is actually about discovering The Finals. But firstly, what happened to Battlefield? It's 2011, the release of Battlefield 3. In comparison to the previous part, it brought advanced graphics, realistic mood, significantly changed class balance and presented wider maps. While Bad Company 2 was unique in both style and gameplay ways and had many fans on its own, the new part managed to gather around a huge amount of players with 5 million of copies sold in just the first week. This part defined the direction of the series, and Battlefield 4 took this formula and made it even better. While it didn't differ too much from its predecessor and sold a little less, it presented even more open levels with a dominant row of vehicles, especially in its DLCs. For me it looked like the perfect entry point and I spent several hundred hours there. Actually, there was one distinctive selling feature called Revolution. Some maps had important objects or mechanics like weather, which could be significantly changed at some point during a game. They could affect mood and level design to some degree. Maybe it doesn't impress so much now because all the situations were scripted and the same in every game, yet I believe it was an important step in making the player's experience richer, as an experiment in worst case. And it's definitely much more interesting to see this than a static environment. Apart from many other game studios, DICE tried to experiment, and I can't recall any other multiplayer games with similar mechanics. It's interesting considering the publisher's name. Even though these moments are scripted, it's just fun to watch the skyscrapers being destroyed or to fight in the center of a storm. Further, DICE could just make new battlefields with slight changes each few years, but they again decided to bring something fresh. The new part took place in the past, so the developers had to redo the whole arsenal to fit the chosen setting. And, in my opinion, they made the most beautiful representative of the series: Battlefield 1. The new environment helped to shake things up, and DICE didn't forget about Revolution. It became a whole and important game mechanic. During a match, it's possible to take control of one of the powerful war machines, depending on the map: an armored train, a ship or an airship. Each of them provides a significant advantage to the team that controls it, but it's possible to destroy it as well, and when it happens, it looks something like this. The only flaw of this part which can't be forgiven is that it killed Titanfall 2. Overall, the developers made one of the best games in a series, but then something happened and the formula of Battlefield cracked. It seemed obvious and even safe to make the next part in a WW2 setting as a natural sequel, but it didn't work so well. Battlefield 5 had many problems from both business and gameplay sides. I'm not going to mock this game as I promised. Also, some aspects of the game were improved after some time, and it presented the most complex animation system in the series, with a variety of contextual animations. Although Revolution got lost, no big cinematic transformations and maps, no real systematic destruction, only small isolated buildings that can be destroyed. I'd say it still was a Battlefield game, but less without it. In the same month as the release of BF5, former DICE and EA employees founded Embark. Maybe EA wasn't ready for experiments or these people had enough of Battlefield. In any case, there were even less DICE veterans left at the studio, and Embark started working on a new game, which came out only in 2025. So, imagine yourself at the place of the developers of the new Battlefield after the 5th part. Your audience's trust has been damaged, your publisher demands more players and money, and you lost a bunch of talented people. What are you going to do? Of course, get back to the future and make the most complex, the most ambitious Battlefield of all time. On one hand, Battlefield 2042 tried adding new features: 128 players, portal mode, dynamic weather, events like a rocket launch, but on the other one, empty levels, performance problems and heroes in Battlefield. It just released raw and these improvements didn't work out like they could have. For this video I played the mentioned parts and it was interesting to see what different experience such similar games provide. I am fond of Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1 because they can generate fun cinematic moments possible only in Battlefield. Even BF4, while Evolution Destruction was scripted and didn't serve any gameplay purpose, it worked as an additional in-game event on top of the shooter's basic mechanics. But after BF1 I felt the magic of the series disappeared. Even though the 5th and 6th parts are pretty fun to play, because these are at least expensive high-quality shooters, but they didn't develop their destruction system or cinematic evolution, and while BF6 has some destructible places and manages to generate crazy moments via the tools it provides, it still feels like a good but old Battlefield 4 which I've already played. I guess that's my main problem. The latest BF game looks like more a remake than a fully new game. And it looks like there were people in DICE who believed in game systems and had ideas on how to develop mechanics they created in Battlefield. Maybe they weren't allowed to experiment or just got tired of the realistic setting. Anyway, people from Embark went all in and presented the anti-Battlefield, without vehicles, realism and heroes, but with procedural destruction, interesting gadgets and unusual game modes, and nothing of that is hidden behind paywalls.
Let's get into it.
The Finals was released in 2023 and to my taste it was a little bit raw, so I quickly stopped playing. Looking at the numbers, it's fair to say many people thought the same way, but after giving it a second chance right after playing Battlefield 6 Open Beta, I was surprised. Not sure if it was my bad memory or the developers made so many changes. The Finals felt fresh and, in comparison to BF6, much more fun as well. So, what was different? I'll start with an ace: real destruction. When I say real, I mean total, cinematic, unscripted and most of all, impactful. In the finals, it's easy to break through any surface, whether it's an annoying wall in your way or a roof used as a cover by your enemies. Each building can be damaged in 100 different ways or even totally razed to the ground. And level design pushes the players to do it. There are many constructions placed in the air via metal cables, which by itself is an obvious hint. Almost all buildings are multi-story and paths between them are filled with jump pads and ziplines. It creates natural positional conflicts between groups of players, and this is where the main fun and destruction happen. Also, the finals destruction system is a game design and technical miracle. No matter what amount of chaos happens in a moment, the game works perfectly and you always understand what's happening around you. Unlike some other shooters where you can be killed from somewhere. If you're interested in the structure of destruction systems in games, including the finals, I really recommend you to check one of the latest GMTK videos about it. But the system by itself is kinda useless. It doesn't provide new experience in isolation because destruction for the sake of destruction would definitely become boring at some point. It actually takes a lot of effort and design decisions to make it visible and impactful for the players. But Embark succeeded in this too. I believe there are two main reasons why the destruction system in the finals works. First is the developers not only created an interactive environment, but also give the players a significant amount of gadgets and abilities to be creative. We have some standard destruction tools, RPG, C4, frag grenades, breach charges, but also the setting of the virtual competitive show allows the developers to come up with crazy and less obvious toys, like teleports, energy shields, dematerializer, goo grenades, and gun which works like the glue cannon from Arcane Spray, hand ziplines and jump pads, fire and poison weapons, turrets, and the whole set of main weapons. Some of them are also able to destroy buildings. Is it a multiplayer shooter or a new kind of an immersive sim? For the balance purposes, this loadout is split between three body types or classes. The light, who focuses on personal mobility and dealing damage, the medium, who has many support tools for the team, and the heavy, who specializes on defense and destruction. Am I the only one who gets brink vibes from the system? These classes have different collision sizes and amounts of health, so the final build is a combination of one of these bases and chosen tools from the available ones. In some way, this differentiation reminds of classes from older Battlefield parts, and I believe it's great, because the players have enough freedom for self-expression and the developers have some ways to adjust all of that. The second reason the destruction in the finals works, and which is also connected to the presented in-game tools, is game modes, because goals are what drive players to use their loadout, to move from one point to another, to find and create new routes to attack or defend some important objects. The main game mode is called Cash Out. It requires players to operate with and steal cash boxes and stations. They're real game objects, and in comparison to bombs from Counter-Strike, they can be moved, chased, pushed or even thrown. So all game systems together create endless possible tactical ways of reaching game's goals and eliminations. To be honest, it takes some time to get used to such a variety of possibilities, but when you do it, other traditional multiplayer shooters will look outdated. There are no planes, 64 players on a map or a single player mode in the finals. But does it even matter when it beats competitors in the amount of fun it can generate? And the last thing that captivates me is the Embark's attitude towards players. Some time ago they introduced playstyles, presets of tools for classes to help new players get started. And in a patch note they also highlighted that they don't plan to transform the finals into a hero shooter. They even called it a hero builder. Now it sounds like great advertising. Before that, they also made some changes in the rank system, explaining what worked and didn't in previous seasons, and what they plan to achieve based on the players' feedback. It's called transparency. And the fact that the developers can so openly share their plans and explain decisions to the players builds trust. Together with mysterious announcements and riddles in each season, they were able to gather a loyal community, and it feels like Embark really cares about their player base.
This is a message to the world. We're pulling back the curtains. Here's a story they'd hope you'd forget.
Long story short, these guys definitely know what they're doing. While older game publishers try making new game services and close them, Embark already made 2 without popular franchises. I wasn't there, but maybe it happens when people in your company don't get enough creative freedom. And it's easy to say when these endeavors ended up successfully. Embark actually risked pretty much developing 2 very complex multiplayer games. But luckily it went well, and we've already seen some similar cases with other game studios. Supergiant, Central Interactive, Warhorse and now Ad Hoc, which is awesome. And I don't think such big games like Battlefield 6 shouldn't exist. It's a high-quality multiplayer shooter which is mostly just fun to play. And I think there are plenty of people who hadn't played any BF game before and found it fresh and exciting. But it's confusing to see how this franchise abandons its unique mechanics, advanced animation system, building mechanic or Levolution. It feels like Battlefield faced a wall because we saw almost the same games in 2011 and 2014 more than 10 years ago. Comparing Battlefield games and the finals made me better understand why Embark created such a game and what a miracle they actually accomplished. They managed to create a new fresh shooter experience with many complex technical features. Now they are the first one who made a high-quality extraction shooter with a unique atmosphere as well. I believe that the future belongs to such innovative games and game studios, and this video is an attempt to give you a similar perspective and help these innovative games. And I believe that no matter how Embark is being criticized for using AI in development, nobody will care if they continue making such unique games. Maybe they're even an example of utilizing modern technologies by a creative game studio. So my relationship with Battlefield 6 and the finals went in such a way. If you haven't tried the finals recently, give it a second chance, or you can share your story in the comments. I hope you discovered something interesting in this video, and if you like this type of content, consider subscribing. And see you on Unburied.